Hi there YouTube, welcome back to another black powder update. Today we have another battalion for the 2nd Brigade of the 3rd Netherlands, sorry. So let's start straight away, try and make this video fairly short. So we're starting off with the blurb. So these guys are the 13th Dutch line, unlucky for some you could say. 664 men, and commanded by Lieutenant Colonel E.N.L. Aberson. Obviously, you could probably guess that these guys are front rank, as have the last 2 or 3 battalions, I believe, have been. But again, you know, obviously, I think sort of price-wise now, front rank are actually pretty much have slotted themselves in as being maybe the 2nd best value for money battalion that you can buy. Now I think sort of price wise, Perry's is still probably the cheapest. However, because you get loads of leftover figures from that and their higher postage, that's kind of knocked the Perry's into 3rd place, because I think battalion boxes from Elite are probably still the best value. Now followed by front rank, where they used to be sort of 3rd, and then the Perry's. Now the thing you have to remember with these guys is that you when you buy a battalion pack, you get 2 standard bearers and you get 2 drummers. So I always buy 2 spare figures for replacements of those. You have to remember, obviously, you don't need flankers. It's just normal troops. So you have to buy sort of 2 normal troops. However, sometimes, like these particular boys, you get a bugler with them as well. So theoretically, you could stick the bugler in with your flankers and have a spare flanker figure left over. But generally, like I say, I tend to just buy 2 extra troops to fill in for those figures. So let's get going and give you a closer look. So we'll start off with the flankers as usual. Now, Dutch line, of course, have the distinction of grenadier and light flankers, similar to the Belgian line. It's only the militia that don't have, they just have flankers straight up. Obviously they more or less look the same. So we have the uniform, the British jacket with the white facings and the sort of puffs on the shoulders, and front rank always give their flankers sober briquets. And yeah, you know, obviously you've seen these guys before, in fact 2 battalions ago. But yeah, they're still pretty cool. I think, you know, I mean, obviously I've painted a lot of front rank lately. I've got to admit, I did struggle a little bit with these guys. They're, again, particularly slow. They probably took me the best part of a week and a half to finish, and that doesn't include the couple of days when I wasn't painting. But yeah, so this is the 4th company, and you can see that they've got like a NCO figure in there. Now, he was kind of a sort of an accident. I did some more research into the Dutch ranks, and I found out that the sergeant's chevrons are actually a silver cord and not a white cord. And that was basically what was sort of causing me so many problems, because I just couldn't verify. I couldn't find anything on the internet to sort of verify it. And in the end, I found a page that just went into immense detail on a particular battalion of Dutch militia. And you know, presuming that the Dutch, because they're part of the Dutch army, their ranks would be the same as Dutch line. It kind of makes sense here, the truth. I mean, when you look at it on the camera here, it looks white, basically, even though it's a silver stripe. So this guy is a you know, just a straight up sergeant. Now I actually painted painted this guy. He was originally a trooper, and I accidentally painted the chevrons onto the wrong guy. Even though the sergeant had white gloves already, because I'd got to that point where I'd already done the strapping. Yeah, I still managed to paint it on a guy who had flesh hands for some reason. So rather than overpaint the chevrons, I thought, well, you know what, I'll just turn them into another NCO for the 4th Company. And that's how he came about, basically. Obviously, there's completely no difference between NCOs and the Dutch Army. They basically look exactly the same as regular troops. So there's the 4th Company. On to the 2nd Company of Flankers. These are the light flankers. Again, obviously the same figures as the original Grenadier flankers. Several briquets. Bog standard, really. Obviously these guys take longer to paint. Got a bit of looks like we've got a bit of some grass and stuff on the back of that guy's separate briquet there. I'll have to brush that off in a second. I think I might have actually accidentally brushed his zebra briquet with a glue brush, and that's probably why it's stuck on there, even though I did actually try and wash it off. Okay, on to the front rank now. So here we have the proper NCO stand. You can see that I've put the NCO in his normal place, which is normally over this side. And obviously he's joined by 3 normal troops again. And this is the NCO stand, or the 3rd Company. Or at least that's what I number them as. And then we have the drummer's stand, or the musician stand, that I always do. And here we have, again, all front rank, and we have the Dutch line drum design, so it's kind of a red triangle with a white triangle upside down, followed by a blue triangle on the opposite side. And that kind of alternates as it goes around the drum. It's annoying to paint, I've got to admit. It sort of plays it tricks your mind into doing all sorts of mistakes, even though the pattern is actually quite simple. But I've got to admit, I only made like one mistake in this time around, which is pretty good. I think I got like a blue triangle the wrong way up. It should have been up and not down. But yeah, they're a little annoying to paint, I've got to admit, but they look good. So that's the musician stand, and then finally the command stand. Just saw that the horse had a little bit of flower tuft on his reins. So here we have the command stand. Again, we have the alternate, or not the alternate. Is it the original? The original Dutch line flag from Elite Miniatures. With the wreath around it. We have a colonel, mounted colonel, who is from Elite Miniatures. I actually bought like a bunch of Elite Miniatures command figures on their own, specifically for using, because I think I've used quite a few like front rank ones, so I thought, I'd get some Elite ones in, because they just look different, basically. So I think I've got like 3 or 4 spares that I can use in my last battalion, because I think I've got like literally 1 militia battalion and the artillery, and then this brigade's finished, and then I think I've got like at least 1 or 2 guys left over that I can use for the 1st Brigade, and then I'll probably end up getting some more in, I think, but I don't know. I probably will, actually. But if I put a front rank order in, then I might possibly pick up a couple more front rank colonels too. I would buy another pack of parries, but there's no more Dutch line. I suppose I could do a sort of a shako swap or a head swap, which is something that I might possibly do. But I've got some choices. I must admit, I've only used 1 pack of Perry's kernels, and they are pretty good, so perhaps I might get another pack of those in to help fill in for the kernel figures, because I think I'm kind of originally I was kind of like thinking, oh, well, maybe I'll just use mounted guys when I've got sort of spare mounted guys. But now I'm kind of, I really do quite like the idea of having mounted kernels, and that I actually kind of think that I'll probably just go all mounted kernels for the rest of the project. So here we have the, like I say, he's kind of on a, what you would call a black horse, even though it's actually a very, very dark brown, because black horses are actually kind of a pure black horse is actually a little bit of a rarity. Obviously not super rare or anything like that, but you'll find that there's less pure black horses around than sort of dark, very dark brown ones. So I thought I'd give him a black horse or very, very dark brown horse, and it's just like it's just like a normal black horse. So he's just got no socks. He's just got a white stripe down his nose and in his head, and I suppose like the only trouble with that you find sometimes with elite kernels is that sometimes you find that they don't particularly sit on the horses that well. This one in particular, I think out of the 4 that I brought, 2 of them are have this sort of problem where they don't really sit flush on the horse's back, and it leaves like a really big gap at the back. So I think what I did this time is, and I'll probably continue using this technique, is that I basically put a fairly sizable blob of hot glue onto the back of the horse. I then pushed the rider down onto that blob. Got him into the right position, obviously. That's very important because especially with these colder temperatures, the glue dries really quickly. Push him down to his correct position, and then wait a few seconds for the glue to dry, and then basically pull him off, and that kind of leaves behind a sort of a layer of glue that would normally take up the sort of the gap, and then basically stick super glue the guy onto that, and it's a secure hold. He's not going to come off unless maybe if you drop him he might come off, but he'll come off with the glue underneath, because obviously the glue's super glued to the rider, so the glue will still be there, so you could theoretically just super glue it back down again if it does come off. But I found that a really successful way of getting rid of that gap without trying to mess around with fillers and all that sort of stuff. So I was really happy with how that turned out. I also added some reins to him. Now obviously where this guy sat is probably, I think he's in the correct position, but obviously there's no rein leading to his hand, so I thought, well, I've got this string beside me. I'll just use a little bit of that to make a rein, the extension of the reins, so that it goes to his hand, and I think that turned out really well actually. So there's the kernel. Here we have the standard front rank, flag bearer. Probably the rank of either an ensign or a lieutenant or a lieutenant. And then of course we have the captain here. He's actually a sort of, you can't really call it a conversion, but it's basically all I've done is snip off the long part of his epaulette, so that he can retain being a captain. And I've just sort of said, well, this guy's got a slightly posher epaulette than maybe an average captain would have, because I think some captains just have a flat epaulette, but this guy's actually got the sort of slightly more posher looking one, as if he's thinking that it won't be too long before he gets promoted to major, and therefore he can just add the gold braid to it and not have to actually worry about getting a completely new epaulette, something like that. All entirely made up, of course, but yeah, captains only have one pauldron. I think it's the same in the British Army too, possibly. I think it is actually. I think a captain only has one epaulette. and then it's not until major that you get 2. And then of course there's a little, I think the difference is that you have like a little band, a coloured band across it. So at major you have no band at all. At lieutenant colonel you have a gold bullion tassels, and I think colonel is all bullion, epaulets and tassels, where it's perhaps like perhaps a lesser quality of gold or something for lower ranks. I'm not 100% sure, because like I say, there's hardly any picture reference of Dutch ranks. But yeah, that's the command group. Overall, I'm pretty happy with them. They did take a fair amount of time, longer than what I'd say normal. But I haven't had a particularly amazing Christmas. I'm not going to kind of go into it, but basically there's a good chance that I may well be moving within the next sort of 3 or 4 months, and it's all going to be complete and utter chaos, because I'm about as useful as a dead fish when it comes to carrying stuff and sitting for long periods and stuff like that, trying to fill boxes. I just not really able to do that very easily. Anyway, hope you're all well. I hope you all have a very happy new year, and I'll catch you all probably. I might take a little bit of a rest before starting my next battalion. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks I'll have my next video up, so a little bit later than average, but fingers crossed, and I'll catch you all in the next one. So until then, catch you all later. Bye bye.